Humbert here, and today we're going to be doing Unit 9, Notes 12. So we're going to be talking about dividing rational expressions with polynomials. So our learning target is that we can divide rational expressions with polynomials. So just like when we're multiplying fractions, when we divide, we need to flip, we're going to be multiplying just like we did on the previous note sheet. We're going to flip that second fraction so that we can multiply. Except this time, before we flip it, we're going to have to do some simplifying first by factoring. So let's take a look at number 1. So I noticed first of all in number 1 that 2b plus 2, I can take out a greatest common factor. Both 2b and 2 are divisible by 2. So we have b plus 4 up top, and then on the bottom I can take out a 2, and I'm left with b plus 1 when I take out a 2. Then I notice over here I have 3b plus 12. Well, 3 and 12 are both divisible by 3. So I'm going to take out a 3, and I'm dividing each term by 3, and that leaves me with b plus 4. And then on the bottom, I have that b plus 1. So now I need to flip that second fraction. So I have b plus 4 divided by 2 times b plus 1. That's going to stay as is. Then I'm going to flip that second fraction, so b plus 1 comes up top, and then 3 times b plus 4 comes down to the bottom. So let's cancel out what we can. We can cancel out the b plus 4s because those factors are being multiplied. We can cancel out the b plus 1s. So notice that everything on the top canceled out. So that's going to leave a 1 up top. Then on the bottom we have 2 and 3 left. So that's going to give us 6. So our simplified rational expression is actually 1 over 6. So now when I go to calculate out the excluded value, I want to look at the bottom of this one, the bottom and the top of that one. So each of those cannot be equal to 0. So 2b plus 2 cannot be equal to 0. And b plus 4 cannot be equal to 0. Because again, 3 is never going to equal to 0. And likewise, b plus 1 cannot be equal to 0. So when you go and solve those, again, I'm going to assume right now that you're comfortable finding the excluded values. When you go and solve each of those, you end up getting a -1 and a -4 for your excluded values for b. So I'm not going to spend a whole ton of time on the video. If you need more help on it, please let me know. So out of the second group, between 6 and 12, you can take out a 6. And then you're left with b minus 12. On the bottom, between 3 and 15, you can take out a 3, and then you're left with b plus 5. Then you're going to do divided by, and then between 2b and 18, you can take out a 2, and then you're left with b plus 9. And then on the bottom, you have b plus 5. Okay, so let's go ahead. First of all, we can reduce that. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So I have 2 times b minus 12 divided by b plus 5, and then I need to flip that second fraction. So then b plus 5 is going to come up top, and b plus 9 is going to come down on the bottom. So what I notice is I can cancel out the b plus 5s. Okay? And so when I do that, oh, this is b minus 2, not b minus 12. Come on, Miss Humbert. I struggled. This should be, okay. So then we're going to have 2 times b minus 2 divided by b plus 9. So now we need to take and we need to distribute that in. So then what we're going to get is we are going to get 2b minus 4 divided by b plus 9. Now let's take a look at our excluded values. So for our excluded values, this cannot be 0, this cannot be 0, and this cannot be 0. So 3b plus 15 cannot equal 0. b plus 5 cannot equal 0. And 2b plus 18 cannot equal 0. So what I want you to do is go ahead and pause those videos and get each of the excluded values. I'm going to have you do that part on your own so we can keep this video just a little bit shorter for you guys. So let's take a look at number 3. So for number 3, we need to factor. So first thing I need to do is use the x to factor that. So I'm multiplying to 2 and adding to 3, and that's going to be 2 and 1. So up top, I have x plus 2 times x plus 1. Then we're going to take that and we're going to divide it by 4. Then I can't simplify this second fraction at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over to start off with so that I can go ahead and start canceling out factors. So what I notice is I can cancel out those factors right there. So then I have x plus 1 times x plus 1, and all of that is being divided by 4. So now what I need to do is I need to actually multiply those guys out. Okay, so I'm going to do that using the box method. So I have x plus 1 and x plus 1. X times x is x squared, 1 times x is 1x, 1 times x is 1x, and 1 times 1 is 1. So then I end up having x squared, and I can take and I can add 1x plus 1x. And when I add the two of those, I get 2x plus 1. And all of that is going to be divided by 4. So that right there is your simplified version, okay, because we canceled out all the factors we could. Now we need to take a look at our excluded values. Well, this is never going to equal 0, so I don't have to worry about that. But this can't equal 0, and this can't equal 0. So for our excluded values, we need to say that x plus 1 cannot equal 0, and x plus 2 cannot equal 0. So go ahead and solve those for x for me and see if you can get those excluded values. Taking a look at number 4. So for number 4, again, we need to set up an x. So we're multiplying to negative 4 and adding to 0. So that's going to be 2 and negative 2. So then up top, for this first fraction, I'm going to have x plus 2 and x minus 2. On the bottom, there's nothing I can do with 5x, so I'm going to leave that as is. Now, x minus 2 divided by x is completely simplified. So I can go ahead and I can flip that fraction right away because there's nothing I need to simplify. And now I can cross some stuff off. Well, I can cross this off, and I can cross this off. So what I'm left with is x plus 2, and that's being divided by 5. So then I have x plus 2 divided by 5. Now, for our excluded values, this cannot be equal to 0, this cannot be equal to 0, and this cannot be equal to 0. So 5x cannot be equal to 0, x cannot be equal to 0, as well as x minus 2 cannot be equal to 0. So again, I want you guys to pause the video and see if you can get those excluded values all taken care of for me. Alrighty, next, let's take a look at number 5, sorry. So we need to factor. First, I need to factor this using the x. So I'm multiplying to 4 and adding to 4. So that's going to be 2 and 2. So up top, I have m plus 3. And on the bottom, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have m plus 2 times m plus 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's flip this. Well, this m plus 2 is going to come to the top when we flip it. Then when we go to the bottom, 2m plus 6, we can take out a greatest common factor of 2, and then we're left with m plus 3. So let's go ahead and let's cancel out what we can. We can cancel out the m plus 3's, and we can cancel out the m plus 2's. Okay, so then what we have left is 1 on top because everything canceled. And then we have 2 times m plus 2. So now I have to actually go through the work of distributing that 2 in. So I get 1 divided by 2m plus 4. So now I need to get my excluded values. So to get my excluded values, this cannot be equal to 0. So let's go ahead and let's take our factored form of that. So m plus 2 cannot equal 0. Okay, and I don't need to write m plus 2 twice, okay, because we know we're going to get the same answer. Likewise, m plus 3 cannot equal 0. And again, I don't need to write m plus 2 again. You can if you want to keep it consistent, but really you need to solve each of those to get your excluded values. All right, let's take a look at number 6. Now, number 6 is tricky because, first of all, let's work on simplifying that guy right there. So first thing I'm going to do is divide out a 3. And when I divide out a 3, I'm left with 3x squared minus 4. Now, x squared minus 4 is something that we can actually factor because we're multiplying to a negative 4, and then we're adding to 0. So then we have 2 and negative 2. So then what we need to do is we need to factor that. So we have 3 times x plus 2 times x minus 2. That's what's going to be on top. And then we're dividing by x minus 6. So now we need to flip this fraction over, this second fraction here. So this x plus 4 is going to come up on top. And then we have x minus 6 times x minus 2 on the bottom. I kind of ran out of space there. So now let's cancel out whatever we can. So then we have x minus 2 that we can cancel out, and that is it. Okay, so left up top we have 3 times x plus 2 times x plus 4. And then on the bottom, we have x minus 6 times x minus 6. And now we need to go ahead and simplify that out. So to simplify this out, what we need to do is get our box. So we need to use the box method on both of those, okay? So when we do the box method, here's what we're going to do. So first, all I'm going to do is take the x plus 2 and the x plus 4. And then on the other one, for the bottom, I'm going to do x minus 6 and x minus 6. So multiplying into the box, x squared, 2x, 4x, 8. Same thing over here, x squared, negative 6x, negative 6x, and negative 6 times negative 6 is positive 36. So when you multiply those together, what you need to do is now we need to add them together. So we need to combine our like terms. So for the top, we still have this 3 on the outside. And we have x squared plus 2, so we can add the 2x and the 4x. So we have x squared plus 6x plus 8. And that's, we're going to close the parenthesis. On the bottom, we have x squared, and I can combine negative 6x and negative 6x, and that'll give me negative 12x, and then adding to 36. So we're going to take the 3, and we're going to distribute it into the top. So 3 times x squared is 3x squared. 3 times 6x is going to be 18x, and 3 times 8 is going to be 24. Then you're going to take that and you're going to divide it by x squared minus 12x plus 36. Then, once you're done with that, you need to go ahead and calculate out your excluded values. So if we scroll on up to the top, okay, you know that this cannot be equal to 0, this cannot be equal to 0, and this cannot be equal to 0. So go ahead and figure out those excluded values. All right, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at number 7. So for number 7, we need to do some crazy factoring here. So we're going to take a 2 out, and then we're left with x plus 2 up top. On the bottom now, we need to set up our x. So we're multiplying to 18 and adding to 11. So that's going to give us, when we do that, excuse me, 9 and 2. So then we have x plus 9 and x plus 2. So when I go to flip that fraction right there, what is going to happen is the x plus 1 is going to come down to the bottom. And then I need to set my x up to figure out the factors of the top. So I'm multiplying to 6 and adding to 5. That's going to give me 2 and 3. So I have x plus 2 times x plus 3. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel out my x plus 2's. And that's all that cancels out. So what we have left is 2 times x plus 2 times x plus 3 divided by x plus 9 times x plus 1. Now I'm going to give you guys a challenge here. I want to see if you guys can multiply that one out on your own and get your excluded values. So I want you guys to see if you can finish number 7 on your own. I'm going to move on to number 8, so pause the video. So let's do a bunch of x's. So we're multiplying to negative 2 and adding to 1. We're multiplying to 6 and adding to 5. So now I've set up the x's for this first one here. So that's going to be positive 2 and negative 1. This one's going to be positive 2 and 3. So on top, we're going to have x plus 2, x minus 1, and on the bottom, x plus 2, x plus 3. Now I need to set up my x's for that second fraction. So for that second fraction, what I am doing is I'm multiplying to 12, once I get my x here, and adding to 7. That's going to be 3 and 4. And then I'm going to be adding to negative 3, or multiplying to negative 3 and adding to 2. That's going to be 3 and negative 1. So now this x was originally on the top. So when I flip the fraction, it's going to be on the bottom. So my x plus 3 times my x minus 1 needs to be on the bottom. Okay? Then this x, my x plus 3, and my x plus 4 needs to come up to the top. So now we're going to cancel out whatever we can. So I can cancel out x plus 2. I can cancel out x plus 3. And I can cancel out x minus 1. So what I'm left with on top is x plus 4 divided by x plus 3. And this right here is my simplified rational expression. I want you guys to go through and find your excluded values, please. Let's take a look at number 9. So for number 9, it says that NASA launched the Mars Odyssey spacecraft, and it took 200 days for the spacecraft to travel 466 million miles. So we're traveling 466 million miles. We want to find the average speed in miles per hour. So it took 200 days. So our rate is what we don't know. Our time was 200 days, and we need to solve for r. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both sides by 200. And then I get that my rate is equal to 466 million divided by 200. That's going to give me 2,333,000, sorry. Okay? Now, that's miles per day. We want miles per hour. So we're going to have to use that label change thing that we did earlier this unit. So we have miles up top per day on the bottom. So I need to convert days into hours. So I need to ask myself, okay, how many hours are in a day? Well, one day, okay, the day is going to go up top because we need those labels to cancel out, is 24 hours. So really all I'm doing is taking this number and dividing it by 24. So when I take that number and divide it by 24, I get 97,083.33 miles per hour. So that's how fast that ship was going. Let's take a look at this last word problem here. So, in July 7th, 2003, the Opportunity was launched. So it went the same distance, but it got there on January 25th, 2004. So we need to figure out how many days that was. Okay, so we just need to add. Well, July has 31 days. So to get to August 7th, it's 31 days. So all I did was I used a calendar to help me figure out how many days passed between July 7th, 2003 and January 25th, 2004. And when I added all of that up, I ended up getting 201 days. So it took 201 days times our rate, and that needs to equal our distance. Okay, so now we need to take and we need to divide each of those by 201. So now you're going to take and divide each of those by 201. And when you do that, you do get a decimal. And again, that label is miles per day, which is not what the question is asking. The question is asking for miles per hour. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that number, miles per 1 day, and we need to use the same sort of label change that we did on the previous one, times 1 day is 24 hours. So really all we're doing is taking that same number and dividing it by 24. And when we do that, we get 9,600, like that. And then that's miles per hour. Sorry, that should be 96,000. Miles per hour. So that concludes your note video for today. Go ahead and show me your completed note sheet when you are done. Thanks for listening.